the Twitter handle that Heather had just mentioned. My contact info is also going to be at the end when that Q&A slide comes up. So if you don't get a chance to jot it down right now, you will see it again at the end. All right, so a little bit of context about where I am, what I'm doing. So a lot of our families in the Duquesne area are low-income families. Many of them are considered essential workers, so we still have a large number of working parents that are actually full-time working. So what we decided to specialize in with kindergarten is we cover all subjects, but when we switched to online learning, our real focus became math and reading, those skills that really we cannot lose and that we need to just kind of build upon what we've already done. Our district gave teacher choice about what platform we decided to share out on. And as a kindergarten team, since we were all kind of already using Class Dojo in our day-to-day lives in the classroom, we decided to use this as our starting point and then branch out from there. So after, our first week or so, our district offered a little bit of guidance based on parent feedback about workload, how to push out material, and all that kind of stuff. So I modified what I was doing kind of as a result to that. So what I've done in my classroom. The first thing I want to showcase is Class Dojo. So this is taking you straight to my Class Dojo that I use daily. So what we decided to do, obviously portfolios is a great resource in the Class Dojo platform. That's not something that we're utilizing. What I'm utilizing is the stories section because, again, it's something that we had been using throughout our time in the classroom. What I wanted to do was kind of stick to things that parents already knew and were familiar with. So what I do in my Class Dojo is this is where I post all of the work that students see for the week. So what I try to minimize it to is one post per day. Now, that's not always practical because with our math pages, as you can see, I posted 2 posts today because I needed to post our activities and then the supplemental materials for that. So what I'm using Class Dojo as is really just a platform to push out the resources. It's kind of the spot where parents are familiar with, where they can go, okay, I know I need to find my activities for the day. Here's where I can find them. So the other things that I'm using, and this is kind of what I really want to talk about the most, is Wix. So I found that a lot of my parents kind of wanted like a quote unquote hands-off approach. They're working, they have multiple kids, they don't have the time to be able to sit down one-on-one and read through a book that I assign or have the students do their writing, flash them their power words, which we use for sight words. So what I decided to do was create a student-friendly website using Wix that students could access entirely on their own. What I love about this is that I can share it just via any website link. So it literally operates like if you would go to google.com and it would pull up Google, you would type in the website, it's like eiben.wixsite.com/online learning is what this one is. So I provide my parents with the link, and essentially all they have to do is click the link to get their child on this website. Once here, their child can pretty much have free reign. So this right now is set up to allow for a lot of reading instruction because, again, that was kind of our big focus. So the first thing that I did when creating this was read aloud. That's the very first thing I did because that's something that we do daily in kindergarten. And it's something that I wanted my students to continue having me read aloud to them. I know there's great resources such as Storyline Online and YouTube that has read alouds, but I found that they really love seeing myself read to them. Now what I did is I just sat in front of my camera, read several books, and then it very simply uploaded the videos with a photo of the book cover so that the kids can see some of the books that we've read. They know down here, the foot book is a favorite in my classroom. So having that cover on there, they know, oh, this is one of the books that I love. A lot of them have it memorized so they can read along with me. So instead of just having the titles listed, I added photos of the covers. After I had my read alouds up for a little while, I decided to then go ahead and add sight word practice videos. Again, there's a lot of great YouTube resources. A lot of people create videos practicing sight words. I chose to do this and have this collection because it's specific to the words that we are learning, and it's specific to the way that I had been teaching them. So what I did is we have 60 sight words that kids need to know by the end of kindergarten. So I took about 10 per video and listed the words below the video. Very simple. Kids can see the words, they can click on the video and watch me, and they don't need a lot of parent help. So then another addition that I made after creating the read alouds and the power words was a brag board. The purpose of this was kind of to encourage the parents that are doing great things and to support the parents that, you know, maybe are struggling, just to see that it doesn't have to be this miraculous printing out every page that I send. You know, you can find a random notebook lying around and have your kids do your writing. And I also thought it would be great for the kids to see their work showcased on a website. So what I do is when I get work back from parents in Class Dojo, I take photos of that. I make sure any identifiable features are taken off, and then I just post it up there so that they can see what they're doing, what others are doing, and just to kind of be another motivating factor. So those are my first 3 components of this website. After more parent feedback and kind of hearing that some parents needed more work for their students, some parents they noticed their students were struggling in certain areas, they wanted additional resources. So I created this page called Helpful Links. What it has is these first 3 links are something that our school is specifically using for online learning. Some of them are things that we do daily. And then on the bottom, I added some supplemental resources that I like to use in the classroom, the kids are kind of familiar with. And again, you'll notice that I put photos next to them so that the kids can recognize it if they're on their own. Now, using Wix, you can embed a link so that if they clicked on the photo, it would take them straight to whatever website I wanted. But I chose to just include the raw link separately in case a parent pulled this up on their phone and they wanted to have the kid do it on their iPad so they could see what the actual link was rather than just having the clickable file. And then the last part that I added to this website is for kind of science supplementary. I said our big focus is on math and reading, but we are now starting a butterflies unit. So as a kindergarten team, this is something that we do every year. We watch butterflies grow in our classroom and release them. And this was an opportunity that we didn't want our students to miss out on just because we weren't in the classroom. So we went ahead and we ordered the caterpillars, and on this one you'll notice that I embedded a YouTube video. So throughout I have some videos that I've created. This is a YouTube video that just walks through the process of the growth of a butterfly. And then on the lower end, I'm taking short videos daily of our caterpillars and posting them with the date. This is another great way to kind of have that interactive feature where they're looking at the website, they see, oh, there's a question that Miss Eiben asked, let me go back and answer it. And I actually got some parents sending me some wonderful responses of, you know, what did you notice that's different? And it's really kind of been amazing, the feedback and the response that I've gotten, and that the kids are kind of loving this. So Wix was kind of something that I chose to do for my kindergarten students, just to have them have a place that their parents can give them access to and they can navigate it on their own. And it's very user-friendly. It's very easy to use. I have been using Wix since I was in college. I love creating websites for really anything. Our school is big into project-based learning as well, our district. And when we had to showcase our project-based learning from last year, I said, let's create a website, because it's very simple, it's very streamlined. You can make it as complex or as simplistic as you'd like. So this is kind of the supplemental resource that I just started using with my parents that I'm loving. And then the last thing that I've been utilizing in my classroom is to push out work. We wanted to have one central location. I'm sure a lot of you are doing the same thing. Rather than bombard parents with something new to look at every day where they're scrolling through, oh, what was Monday's work? What was Tuesday's work? We wanted to just have it very simple in front of them as a plain view kind of calendar. So we've been using Google Docs, which is great because as a kindergarten team, we can share these with each other to help in our planning. And I know myself and another kindergarten teacher, we share a family. So we have students that belong to the same family, and we want that parent to have consistency throughout. You also notice on this calendar, we're utilizing Zoom sessions as well. The reason I love using the Google Docs and then converting it into a PDF is you can have those live links for parents to access. So instead of just having to list the meeting ID and password, they can have the link. And then at the bottom, I always include that online learning website that I just showcased to you, as well as my contact info. Again, I love that once parents see this, it's a live link. And back in my class dojo, this is something that I post every day as a file. They can click on it, it gives them the PDF, and just like I was clicking on links in my PowerPoint, they can click on the links on the Google Doc, and it takes them to all of their activities. It also allows them to see what's expected to be turned in for feedback. So you'll notice that I've marked very simply with just a red asterisk the materials that I need something submitted for feedback. Those are a lot of the things that I'm showcasing on that Bragboard section. The completion of math pages, the completion of writing, you know, all those kinds of things that we would typically give feedback in a regular classroom. I'm trying to give feedback as much as I can in my online classroom as well. So what I've learned kind of throughout this process, and especially creating these materials for my parents, is that less is more. And that was something that was a very, very quick lesson that I learned kind of in that first week of learning. You know, I wanted to provide as much information as possible, and then I got a lot of feedback like, I have too many parents, I have too many teachers talking to me, it's too overwhelming. I have one family who mom is communicating with 14 teachers, so it's a lot to keep up on. So then I took a step back and I said, okay, so my parents are feeling overwhelmed. What can I do to maximize what I'm pushing out, but minimize the communication? And that's kind of where I found like that Google Docs was very helpful, because I could include all of that information on there. And same thing with that Wix website. Rather than post videos every day or post 4 videos daily, I can put it all in one source. So if they want to go out and seek those supplementary resources, they can, but they don't have to if they're feeling overwhelmed by what they're getting. I also wanted to provide opportunities for parents to kind of set it and forget it. I know I have one family where mom is working full-time, 12 plus hours a day, and has 7 children at home that she's trying to educate as well. So that's kind of the frame that I thought about when I'm doing my lesson plan. I'm like, okay, if Mrs. So-and-so can manage this, then all of my parents can manage this. So I wanted to provide the opportunity for students to be able to kind of guide their own learning. So if they, go to that Wix website, parents set them on there, they go to those Power Word videos and they see, oh, I know this word like and love, but I don't recognize the rest of these words, then they know that they can watch that video and have some practice with that. It also kind of allows for that self-monitoring for my kindergarten students. I've also found that my students personally engage more with my face than if I would pull a random YouTube video. So that was another reason why I wanted to create this platform where they had videos of me pushing out materials that wasn't necessarily a live Zoom session. Again, we have a lot of families that are essential workers that can't be joining us for our live Zoom sessions. So while those are great for interactions and instruction for the students that we see on those sessions, I needed to find a way to have something for those students that couldn't join us that was still effective. And I didn't want, Jack Hartman's wonderful, but I didn't want them to always be looking at Jack Hartman. You know, I really wanted to kind of keep that consistency in how I typically teach our sight words and how I typically do our read alouds, so they had that familiarity. And then the other thing that I've learned is to minimize the new. Again, I mentioned earlier that Class Dojo's portfolios I know is a wonderful resource for a lot of people. That's something that I chose not to utilize. Working with 5 and 6-year-olds and their parents, and knowing that a lot of these kids have older siblings, I wanted to just keep things as consistent and as similar as if we were in our day-to-day classroom, while still trying to provide a little bit of rigor and a little bit of explicit instruction, so that parents aren't just handed this activity with directions and like, okay, now what? So some practical tips that I found when creating these materials is make sure that the website is student friendly. I've said kind of as I was walking through it, make sure the students can navigate it on their own, so that it's not super confusing that their parent has to be kind of hovered over them. There's just, you know, I think minimizing the number of pages is also great, because if they know that, oh, there's a butterfly page, but there's 8 different pages across the top, and as a kindergarten student, you can't necessarily read all of that content. If they're clicking through 8 pages, they're going to get frustrated. So I think minimizing kind of the pages, making it student friendly is critical, especially if using a Wix type teacher created website. The other thing that I learned is that when you're filming power word videos or story read alouds and you want your students to see the words left to right as they appear, make sure that after you're filming or while you're filming, your camera flips. So I know, like when I filmed from the MacBook, I would go through the video, it would mirror me as I was going through the video, but then once the video was done, it would flip so that students would see the words from left to right. So when I'm doing the video, it looks backwards, but when it was finished, it looked correct. I know on Zoom, that's a feature that you have to go in and click. If you're doing like those live sessions with Zoom with those sight words, it automatically mirrors your video. So you have to go in and click stop mirroring so that they again see it left to right. This is going to take some trial runs. I know when I first started doing these videos, I would maybe take like the first minute and stop and then check it to make sure it looked how I wanted, make sure I was framing the words the correct way, you know, just make sure that it was how I wanted it to be. So you're not getting all the way till the end of filming all your videos and then you realize, oh no, this didn't turn out right, or oh no, this is backwards. So the biggest thing that I found is definitely, especially if you're starting off, try it in a short frame and then see how it works out. And then the last thing that I learned is to kind of integrate activities and resources that you already use in class. All the things that I'm doing, with the exception of Wix, are things that my parents have already seen me use in the classroom, my students have already seen used in the classroom. So it's nothing outrageously new that they had to learn completely on their own. I mean, obviously we're all available to help our students and our families, but it's quite difficult to kind of walk somebody through a new platform if they've never experienced it before. I actually had the opportunity to utilize a math app for my students, and I just said, you know, as much as I would love to, I can't, because I don't know enough about it to be able to just push it on them and have them figure it out remotely. So the next steps I'm thinking about in moving forward with my online learning, especially with the Wix, is to seek parent feedback in what to reduce and include. And that's something that I've kind of just been doing very organically throughout this process. And I'm always kind of thinking and modifying based on what my parents have said. Another thing I'd like to do is we have access to leveled readers for our students to log in. However, I'd kind of like to look into finding some free leveled readers to embed in that website. So again, it's all in one location for my parents. And then the other thing that I'm trying to look into doing is incorporating more feedback to my students, whether that be through the class story platform on Class Dojo as like a whole group feedback, or, you know, kind of continuing to do that brag board and showcasing those great examples of work for students to kind of compare where they're at to what's being showcased. And the other thing I want to do is to start incorporating more math materials onto my Wix website as well. The unit that we kind of transitioned into online learning, we were in shapes, and just by nature of what the material looked like, it didn't really lend itself to having those videos for students to kind of just sit and explore on their own. But as we move forward into our next units, that's definitely something that I'm going to be incorporating as another tab at the top, are some math videos. So while I didn't really showcase that today, that's definitely something, me personally, I'm going to be including in my next phase of my online website or classroom.